Okay, so skincare. Anything that I do with this skincare routine I'm about to show you, I like to do before I do my makeup in the morning or afternoon whenever I get up, and then before bedtime. So I will start with my Black Tea Kombucha Facial Treatment Essence. This is by Fresh. I would not consider this a necessity. It's just something that I personally like to do. I feel like it evens out my skin tone very nicely. I don't really have problem heavy skin. My skin treats me pretty good for the most part, but I do like preventative care. You fill up about that dip in your palm. I don't know if everyone has this dip, I know I do. So not a ton of this. You kind of just move it around your hands. A little bit of wetness there. And I like to just press it into my face. I don't like to swirl on my face a lot, meaning like do this, unless I'm gonna do it very lightly because I feel like that just is like unnecessary pressure on my skin, if that's a good way to put it. And I'm trying to be nice to it. So that's where I will start for there before I put anything on my face. Okay, then I will move into my moisturizer. I use the same moisturizer for the morning and night. The only difference is I switch it up between serums. I'm a huge KIEHL'S fan. I always have been. This is Daily Reviving Concentrate, so a serum here. And then you have your Midnight Recovery Concentrate. So this is obviously during the daytime, before I go to bed. I pair both of these serums with about a pump of the Lala Retro Whipped Cream. And this is also by the Junk Elephant, which is where my face mask is from. Love this brand, as I said. So I'm gonna start with about a pump of this. I already have a little bit on there, but normally this is actually how the application works. You just swipe that off the top, put it in the palm of my hand. I have a lot on there right now. I'll go in with my day serum. And with both serums, I like to do about 2 to 5 drops. Right in between there, I'll do about 3, depending on how much moisturizer I have. And same as I do with the Black Tea Kombucha Essence, I will like to just press it very gently into my skin. And always apply to your neck because we always forget about it. And it's not very nice. I don't think it wants to be forgotten about. Okay, so that's it for skincare. Now we can go into the makeup portion. For those of you who are foundation people, I don't do foundation a lot. I'm actually mostly just a concealer kind of gal. So I'll actually just go in with the concealer, but for the sake of giving you the full gist of what I do with my makeup routine, we will go in with a full look. I'm not a one and done foundation gal either. So I'll go in with a MERCIER. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's pretty fancy. Tinted moisturizer. This is not very pigmented, not a lot of coverage. I don't like to cake things onto my face because I feel like as the wear and tear of the day and moving my face goes on, it tends to get caked up in certain places and I just don't think it looks good throughout the day. So I will take a pretty natural base, and I don't have a winter shade, I don't have a summer shade. I just add more or less of a more pigmented foundation, and dependent upon how tan I am. So this is a SMASHBOX Camera Ready BB Cream. I have this in, I believe it's, yeah, light to medium. And then I have, like I said, the tinted moisturizer for MERCIER is a natural. So I feel like this is just a good way to even out my skin, give the skin an overall good look. Okay, so I don't do a lot. And then I will add more or less of this, since I'm actually fairly tan right now. I'm gonna add a little bit more of my SMASHBOX Camera Ready BB Cream. I am not like, I don't use a ton of, I have a beauty blender and brushes and that's about it. I don't do any kind of brushes for foundation. So mixed together, that's about what I'll be right now. And I probably just take my 2 fingers and apply it to my skin all over, using just my fingers. I don't go in with a beauty blender just yet. Make sure you always apply, like not your whole neck, because that'd be extreme, but connect your jawline to your neck. Otherwise people tend to know what the real shade of your face is. And the whole point of makeup is tricking people thinking this is what my skin really looks like. Duh. Even if it don't. Okay, as you can see, my hand's pretty wet right now. That's just because I went in to get my beauty blender wet. I don't know, apparently a lot of people don't know that you're supposed to do this. I actually didn't for like a whole year of owning a beauty blender, and kind of changed my life. So I just kind of go when I have excess on my hand from when I applied the foundation to it earlier. So I kind of just do this little motion. I don't know where I adopted this motion, but it works really well. Since the beauty blender is wet, I'm actually just gonna even out the foundation I just put on my face. Okay, so when I'm letting kind of like the foundation set, I like to go in and do another part of my face. I don't normally do eyeshadow, but for the sake of the tutorial, I will go in and do that now. My favorite palette on planet Earth, and the only one that I actually own because I don't do a ton of eyeshadows, is NARS NARSissist. And this has a great slew of shades. Very natural, kind of fun. We got our sparkles, our subtle sparkles here and there, which I live for. And so I will go in with, the first one is Pro Featherweight Crease. This is number 38 at Sephora. And I'll start with these three colors. So I dab, 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 dab. And I will go in on the crease. Just apply a little bit deeper towards the outside of my eye, because that's where you want most of the application process to go on. And I will just keep pushing into that part and slightly varying into the inside of my crease, just so I have less color there, more color on the outside. Okay, so the key to good blending is being very gentle with the application process at first, and applying like a little bit more pressure here and there depending upon how pigmented you want the eyeshadow color to come onto the eyelid. So right now we're just getting the crease, but I'm being very gentle, and it's also very important that you get the right blending brushes, because if you don't, you can do it, but it's just more difficult to do if you don't have the proper tools to apply. All right. Don't worry about all this excess right there. I'll show you what I do afterward to make that a little bit more sharp. Once I've done that, I like to go in with a lighter base for my actual eyelid. I will go in with this white shade, and this is actually a little bit more of a sparkled shade, the second color over. I don't have the names. Yes, they do. So I go in with Biarritz and Satisfaction is what it's saying. And I will actually add these two together just to the actual lid of my eyelid, just below the crease. So you get a little bit of contrast there, which I think is important. This is more just like a pat process. We're gonna call it anything. I don't know the names of anything, so I just like, and I kind of do this motion, and it works for me. It really does. And I blend with my fingers, because there's no better blender in life than your fingertips. I'm not a huge eyeliner person. I know a lot of people are. Me personally, I don't like it because I feel like I have more almond-shaped eyes, and I just feel like when I do put eyeliner on, if I do a darker color, it tends to just kind of close my eyes, and I like to emphasize on my eye color. I like to look like my eyes are a little bit more open, like I'm a little bit more awake, especially on the days when I don't get a lot of sleep. So I will go in, actually, I've been having a lot of fun with red lately. I'll go in with this deep color Temptress. That's fun. And I'll just, the key to at least eyeliner for me, when I do the lower, I don't do the upper at all. When I do the lower, I just go a quarter of the way into my lower eyeline. So I'll go in, whoop. Quite literally only do about a quarter of the way through, maybe a third of the way through, in between a quarter and a third. And that kind of just adds like a little bit of depth to my eye without closing off the eye, if that makes sense. Then sometimes I will actually add a little bit of sparkle. So I'm gonna go in with this more sparkly red, which is called Wicked Game. And I will start actually mid of the quarter I just put in and move to about halfway. So we'll start mid, just to blend the two colors together. It actually creates kind of like an ombre effect. So, this angled brush is actually from MAC, and I've had this quite literally forever, but Yeah, I think you could get the same thing at Sephora. If you have your own, like, you don't need to go out and buy all these brushes. So now we have to go in and accentuate the brow bone, which is so key. And I'll go in with the, let's see, I'll go in with like probably a smaller brush. I actually didn't mention what my crease brush was. This is number 14, and it's a Pro Shadow. And then I will take number 15, which is Pro Small Shadow. I think they're distant cousins or something. And I'll go in and I will accentuate that brow bone from eyebrow beginning to eyebrow end. And I will just brush that onto there to kind of create a further contrast between my crease, my actual lid, and the brow bone. It also just creates a space for what I'm about to do towards the end with a highlighter. I don't ever apply a ton of this stuff. I like to keep it as natural as possible, so I think it's important that you just don't add a whole lot. And it's got a lot of pigment. This palette has a lot of pigment, so a little goes a very long way. I'll use my Becca highlighter at the end to accentuate the this particular portion of my brow bone, but since this is a very similar pigment from my my highlighter, I'll actually just go and tap a little bit on there. And I just go back and forth very lightly, and then get a little bit, add a little bit more pressure to the application process. And that's been my phrase, application process. All right, and as you can see, still very shiny on that side. Okay, and what I also like to do to just kind of do the finishing touches is take, again, that color. This is Delirium, I believe. I like to touch it, add a little tap, just tap. And I kind of like to connect it to the prior eye line I had right there. It's important to go in with, not super important, but I do like to do this. This is number 18. This is Pro Shader, and it's a very small blender brush for eyeliners specifically. I think you could use it for a slew of purposes. And I like to just blend this part out underneath my eye from both sides. What's actually pretty cool about this is after you get the access, there's definitely some stuff on this from me blending that together. I kind of like to just like push it out a little bit, very gently. That actually creates a small wing, very small, not super noticeable. Doesn't really last all day, but for the moment being, it's kind of fun. Okay, so after I'm done with the eyeshadow process, I like to start my eyebrows. So, Anastasia, my absolute favorite, doesn't say anywhere on the brush, but you get this at Anastasia, you get the powder at Anastasia, and I actually have an eyebrow gel that I have from Anastasia. So that's pretty simple if you're going into Sephora and you just want to get 3 products, get these buds. Dark brown is the shade of my eyebrows. I do a dark brown, has 2-tone right here. I like to go in with a lighter tone just because if I go deeper, it just seems a little bit, it's less natural that way for me, so I go in with a lighter tone. Always brush upwards when you take this brush upwards on your eyebrows. I think powders are important because they're very easy to blend, and you don't have to worry about doing too much at the start because you can just always add more if it's necessary. So I like to start at the very beginning, push relatively hard with pressure, start light, and then add more as I said. Follow the brow line, make sure you connect all the way to the bottom of the brow. Okay, and I actually don't brush down because I feel like that adds too much powder. I know some people like to brush down first and then apply the same thing I did to the bottom to the top, but I actually just keep it pretty simple, keep it there, and just actually don't start exactly at the top. I start maybe a centimeter, not even half centimeter, sorry, probably like a centimeter and a half maybe away from what would actually be the beginning of my eyebrow. And then brush up. This brush up motion actually helps to because I know that people like that look where it's kind of up and then it like fades out. So that's how I make that very emphasized on my eyebrows personally. Make it vertical, apply vertical strokes in the beginning, and then fan it out towards the end of the eyebrow.
Okay, and normally sometimes when I feel like I need to add a little bit more pigment towards the wing of my eyebrow, I will go in with this darker color, but that's not typically necessary. I think it's only when I feel like I'm gonna be taking pictures with flash at nighttime, and I'm like, oh, well, I want my eyebrows to show up, so let's get in there with a deeper color so people know I actually have them. All right. Kind of finishing touch to just sharpen them up. I think that's a good way to put it. Sharpen them up, I literally just follow with my finger and remove like any excess that I may have missed when applying with the actual brush. Et voila! Okay, so lastly, I will do the, I think the greatest product of all time, which is nice because you can apply this after you've done your eyebrows. You can do it if you haven't, and it just kind of brings depth to your eyebrows. I know I tend to have thicker eyebrows. Not everyone does, so this might not actually work for everyone. So ANASTASIA, like I said, my loyalty to ANASTASIA eyebrow products is unmatched. So I start here, and I kind of press into my skin, brush up. A little sharply, actually. Brush up, brush up, brush up. Throughout the whole eyebrow, get a little bit lighter as the tail of my eyebrow comes in contact with the brush. And sometimes I'll brush over and then up. That just gets a little bit more of the, gets a little bit more of the gel onto my brow. So this actually, what's interesting about this brush is that it's got a flat tip side on this side, and then it kind of a little bit more bristles on that side. And so when you rotate it, you can kind of see where that's going. I always start with a flat, that's what I was just doing here. And then at the end, I will rotate it to where there's more bristles and kind of just fan it out a little bit more. And I just bring it to a point. Next, I will go in actually to contour my face. I do this very lightly. You can kind of do any, as long as it's a deeper contour or bronzer, I think it's important. It doesn't matter what brand it is. I like to do NARS. This is NARS Casino. I like to go in, and this is my Pro Contour 79. This is like one of the greatest brushes I've ever used, and every time I go into Sephora, they're like, yeah, so you can use this for contouring, you can use this for blush, for highlighter, and it's for powder. It's a pretty versatile brush that way. So I just like to use it for contour, but you could definitely use it for other things. So I will go in actually to the top of my cheekbone after I do like a swirling motion, because I feel like it just hits the brush everywhere it should. And I'm very gentle at first. Like I said, start about 25% rather than 100 and working way backwards. Start at 25. I like to, if you slacken your cheeks, you get the natural contours. And then adding gradually more pressure as needed. So there is for the cheeks. Don't be worried if it's not perfect. When I go into powder later, when I add that brush, I feel like it kind of just evens everything out at the end. So don't be afraid of it being perfect or sharp or whatever. It's the whole point of it being natural is that you don't need to apply a whole ton and make it look absolutely perfect. Next, I will actually go into my hairline. And this is actually the contouring is very dependent on your face shape. I think a lot of people think that like one size fits all when it comes to contouring. I know I have more of a heart-shaped face, maybe like a little bit more oval probably. And so I know, definitely look up like, there's definitely like, I want to call them pamphlet, but I know that's not what they're called. It could be pamphlet. Definitely look up some diagrams, contouring diagrams that fit your face shape the best and then apply the contour there. I think right now I'm just trying to teach the best way to actually apply it so that it's not so heavy and it looks a little bit more natural. So I start up here and work my way down towards my brow bone, stop about there. I'm very lightly feathering, if that's a good way to put it. Add more or less depending on what you feel like feels best. I just like a little bit more of a natural look, so I don't like to apply too much. Okay, and then I go in with a very tip. It kind of comes to a point, a very dull point, so to speak, and I just lightly maybe swirl around just a little bit and apply to the sides of my nose. Don't go on the bridge. just on barely just the outside of the bridge, very, very lightly. Just do it a little bit longer. And then just a little touch at the bottom. I really don't know if that does anything. Do I do it every time? Absolutely. Okay, so I'm just getting any excess powder that could have caught my nose during that. I will now actually go in with my concealer. I'll go in with my Bare Minerals Bare Skin Complete Coverage Serum Concealer. I feel like it's not, it doesn't do a lot of coverage. I feel like it's actually, it blends really nicely so it doesn't look cakey on your skin, so it doesn't look too obvious. And this actually helps to do the opposite of what the contouring does. It actually brings out the highlights of your face and accentuates those. And so I will actually start underneath my eye. I'll do the whole wing look. Get my warrior paint going on, as my aunt would have called it. I do a kind of like a feather look. And then I'll go. And here, I like to just add here so that it kind of, when I applied my contour, it kind of just helps to contrast that a little bit better. That, and I have very, very thin skin, so you can actually see the veins in my skin if I'm not careful, which I'm not a huge fan of that look. Do I mind that much? No. If I can get rid of it, I will. And I will start in the places where I have the least amount of oil on my face, just so that, because I'll be careful of my chin, I'll be careful of my nose portion. Because if I do add that oil there, I feel like it gets in the Beauty Blender brush, and I can actually just kind of spread it to the rest of my face, and then I become a little bit more prone to breakouts if I do get them, and that's never fun, so avoid that at all costs if you can. And this part here actually is kind of helpful because, like I said, when we have the excess coming from my eyeshadow, what helps kind of make that a contrast is just following along that line. And now, as you can see, we have a nice contrast skin. And always press towards the inside of your nose so that you only get, like, you get a little bit of a finer line from that contour I applied earlier, rather than having a bunch of brown over the sides of your nose. I don't think that's the best look. All right, so just about lastly, I will go in with my Too Faced Milk Chocolate Soleil, I think is how it's pronounced. This is a light medium matte bronzer. I feel like this kind of just sets my makeup at the end. I've been kind of letting my my foundation set the whole time. Then I, of course, applied my concealer, which needs some setting as well. So I will go in with my Sephora's Pro Flawless Light Powder, number 50. And I will just kind of, like I do most of my makeup, I just swirl around right there and then lightly brush onto my face. It just feels really good. What's actually awesome about this stuff is that it smells and it tastes like chocolate. Not that I've actually like gone up and been like, oh, that's delicious. It just, when you get any kind of powder on your tongue as you're applying here, it tastes like chocolate. That's awesome. Okay, so one of the last few steps I like to do, I think we have about 3 steps left. One of them being blush. So this is NARS's Orgasm. I don't know why they name their products like that. This is a nice blush because I feel like it's kind of a cap-all. I know people have to do colors depending on their skin tone. I know for myself I have a little bit more of a red undertone. Some people have more yellow undertones. And even for darker skin, it's really nice too. I feel like it just, I don't know what it is about it that it just looks good on everything. It's like the sisterhood of the traveling blush, if we're gonna get punny about it. Here, this is my Sephora's Pro Sculpting Blush, 99. Take the tip, it comes to a point as well, same as my contouring brush. Kind of just dab it in there just a little bit. And I do like to do circles on my cheek. I feel like that has a more even application. So let's do our mascara. I'm a big eyelash curler person. Some people don't do them. So you gotta get as close to the lash line as possible. Close gently and rotate up. Don't hold that same grip that you had initially because you will pull your eyelashes out and that does not sound enjoyable. Just as I go up, I like to just gently press until the very end. favorite mascara on planet Earth you can literally buy at Target. I think it's actually a waste to buy Sephora brand. No offense, that's just overpriced, and I feel like Target does so much better. This is very comparable to Too Faced Better Than Sex, obviously. I think they were going for the same look. I know it has a very similar wand to it. So the wand is the same shape as Too Faced that you can buy at Sephora, Better Than Sex, but it doesn't clump the same. It actually has a much better formula, and you can get it at Target. This is Volumina / Paradise by L'Oreal. So I think it's like $8, I believe. Quote me if I'm wrong. What's important here is you start as close to the base of your eyelid as possible. And I like to blink and rotate at the same time. You only have to do this a few times because the application it'll go on pretty heavy at first. So I press, rotate, blink and rotate. And I like to wing more out towards the cat eye portion of my eye. Okay, there's upper lash, bottom lash. Lexi, I'm in the middle of filming.
Oh shoot, I don't want the camera to see me.
It's gonna see you. What are you doing?
I just want to watch you.
Lexi, you can't Are you getting in the shower?
I want to watch you.
Okay, come over in the corner like a creep then. I can tape this out. Lexa Hill. Okay, go over there. I think it might be able to see you.
No, I can't. It's impossible.
Okay, wait. So we're gonna do our highlighter. Becca is my absolute favorite. I've tried a ton of other highlighters. I think Tarte was one of my favorites for a while, and then I discovered Becca. I did Champagne Pop, but that was too much of a yellow undertone for my skin tone, and I know since I have more red undertone that Opal was actually the best one for me. Pro Angled Brush, number 49 from Sephora is a great one. So you just kind of like dip into it, if that makes sense, like that little process. Start about like mid-cheek, if we're gonna say this whole section right here is where I apply my highlighter first on my cheeks. I start mid-cheek and I work my way up, down, and then I touch the apples of my cheeks. Is that what it's called? Lexa Hill. Lexi! This is my sister for you. Okay. So, and then we'll do that to the same cheek. Next I'll go on with my nose, and I'll kind of just take just a little dap, and I will very lightly brush over it. Take a tiny bit on my finger, and I just very slightly on just about the center bridge part of my nose, very lightly apply it. I hardly ever apply it on my chin, but if I do, it's just like one simple swipe. And I will actually just reapply there, like I said, very gently, just so it kind of brings my whole face together. And even when I'm not wearing eyeshadow, I will do this, just because I feel like it just accentuates my brows, which is very nice. I'm big on lip tints because they double as lip tint and cheek tint, so maybe I'll go in with I'll go in first with a very pigmented color. This is Dior's Raspberry Dior Addict Lip Glow. You can get this at Sephora as well. I go in on the center of my lips. I don't do the whole swipe like I would with a chapstick per se. I just do the center, don't do a whole ton there. And maybe there's too much on my lips right now. If that's something I were thinking, I'd go in with just a regular chapstick. My favorite is Sugar Coconut Hydrating Lip Balm. I would go in with that and just blend it out to make it less pigmented. And that also just gives my lips like a nice contrast from the rest of my face, because my lips are the same color as my face and I'm not a fan. Benefit, I hope that the camera's picking this up. It's a cheek tint and a lip tint. It's like, you have to be very careful because it's super concentrated. It's basically like the same shade as like a cherry juice, if you were to think of it that way. And I had made, oh, I love this stuff. I've had way too much fun with this. I actually will apply this most of the time at the end of my routines if I feel like I don't have enough blush. I'll just do 3 little dots there. It's super concentrated, so be very careful. Just blend it together because it's more of like a water-based product. It just blends really nicely with your skin as opposed to like a powder or a cream. I know they have like more of like a lighter pink, and then they have like even like an orange undertone, so it's all very dependent upon your skin tone, so make sure you go in, but if you feel like this is something you would have fun with, for people that are a little bit more lighter like me, definitely would recommend this. Lastly, I feel like I have discovered the top tier best lip gloss on planet Earth, or at least maybe I'm just going through this phase of being obsessed with it. It's Marc Jacobs. I think it's enamored lip gloss. It's in the shade Rebel Rebel, and it's more of a red undertone. And I just go center my lips just a little bit, press together, and then I push it out to the outsides of my lips. And so I don't have a ton of lip gloss on my lips. I don't need to worry about my hair blowing in the wind and being like, everyone knows what that feels like, hopefully, or hopefully not. I should also mention that I have a fantastic concealer for when I'm having some breakouts. I get it mostly on my chin and around my nose and on my forehead just a little bit. Currently not having any because I've been in the sunshine a lot. My skin loves the sunshine. But I will use this very pigmented concealer. It's by IT. I just take my Pro Precision Concealer. It's number 45 at Sephora. I just take that and I will apply to the spots. Around my nose is typically where I get it. And when I'm done doing my makeup is when I actually apply the concealer. And I will just lightly dab it. You don't, like, a little goes a very long way. This would probably last me the rest of my life. I know that sounds dramatic, but it's like 100% accurate. It was designed by plastic surgeons, and let me just say they know what they're doing. So yeah, that's the difference there. I want to thank you guys for sticking around this long. I know it's going to be a relatively long video, so you're a champ if you've made it this far. I want to let you know that all the links to the products I just used are going to be in the description below, aside some duplicates. I'm going to post for some of those products that are cheaper but work as excellent alternatives, so there's going to be that. So with that being said, au revoir, enjoy your day or night wherever you're at in life, and take care in the meantime.